Hi, everyone. I want to put this video out there just for, I guess, Trusted Living and Street and Candy, anybody else that was involved in some of the discussion that we had on Street's channel involving stars and astronomy and astrology, so on and so forth. And a lot of times when I'm listening to them discuss it, I'm always drawn back to the wheel. And I know I've probably put some of this stuff out before, but I just wanted to make a real short video just to show you some of the connections that I see involving a lot of the stuff that Street and Candy and everybody discusses. So you've seen this many times. This is the wheel. This is the map that's on the wheel and it describes these are all stars, Aldebaran, Rigel, Sirius, and Fomalhaut, and of course the sunrise and sunset. But those are all stars from the brightest stars in specific constellations. Aldebaran is part of Taurus. Rigel, of course, is part of Orion the Hunter. Sirius is the dog star. It's one of Rigel's hunting dogs. Fomalhaut is the southern fish that sits right beneath Aquarius, so on and so forth. So I've showed this before, and I'm not going to discuss the solution. You can go and watch those videos if you want to see it. But I just kind of wanted to show you when I talk in my sob and I describe rising, like it says over here, Aldebaran rises, summer solstice sunrise, Rigel rises, Sirius rises, Fomalhaut rises. Here's what I mean, and I kind of did this quick, so everything is not as exact as it would be. But I want to show you what I mean by rises and what they're talking about on site here when they talk about rises. So this isn't a program that I have that lets you basically put yourself anywhere on Earth, okay, and then you can set the time and date back to any time. So I set it around the solstices, and like I said, I'm not being completely accurate here because I just wanted to give you an overall idea of what occurs, okay. And I've linked to this program before, and you can go and check it out. They have a version that runs on the web, and then you can also download it to your computer and run it. And I think Candy and Street certainly they might be interested in getting a hold of this because they can use it for whatever they want, and it's pretty cool. Not only does it show you line drawings of the constellations, you can turn that on and off. You can also have pictorial images that show it, and it's pretty interesting. Now I'm sitting exactly in the wheel, okay, right where the backstop would be, the F location, where you would sit when you're on a vision quest. Okay, these are compass bearings, all right, and I'm showing you what you would see on any specific day here. Now, obviously, this horizon that's not what it looks like at the wheel. They just put an image up there so that they can show you where the horizon line would be. Clearly, you're on top of a mountain. It's not going to look like this. It's going to look much different. So you'll have to bear with that because there is no way I can actually show the ground and without doing a lot of work and overlaying it on here. So just keep that in mind. So let me go back to that last screenshot for a second. So if I'm sitting in here at the back seat and I'm on a Vision Quest, okay, I'm going to show you each one of these, what you would see in that perspective. This is what the arrows are pointing at. So you'll be looking across where I have this pointer down here, this thumbtack down here. Okay. Now, if you were sitting here 2 days before the solstice, just before the sunrise, what you would see is this. Okay, here's Aldebaran. Now, this would be the acorn over here, and you'll be sitting there. And again, keep in mind what I said about the horizon. Just as the sun rising, you would see the brightest star in the constellation. Here we're talking about Taurus. And by rise, they mean that you would see it come above the horizon, and then the sun, of course, as it moves up, would overpower it, and you would no longer see it because of the Earth's atmosphere. You would see blue, so you wouldn't really see the star. But that's what they mean by rising. So you would look at that location, and that's what you would see. And now you know you're 2 days before summer solstice when Aldebaran rose. Okay, this is what the sky would look like on approximately that time and date. So now we're back here again and we're looking this way. Okay, we're looking over this cairn down here, which is Rigel. Okay, now this would be 28 days after solstice. That's when Rigel would rise, and here's what that would look like. There you see Rigel again. This is the toe of Orion. This is Orion. You can see Orion's belt right here. Okay, there's the bow, and this is Orion, and that's his foot. Okay, so again, you would see that appear right over the B cairn, and you'll notice that we're looking east here. So this is slightly going towards the southeast. That's where Rigel will be. It would appear right over the B cairn if you were sitting there, 28 days after solstice. So we're sometime in July now. You'll look and you'll see Sirius is like, if you see this cairn here, this cairn actually represents the solstice sunset. But just to the left of it, you can see where they drew the arrow here. This would be the sea cairn. You'll see that the arrow is slightly away from that. Okay, so it'll be in this direction. That's where Sirius would rise. Now Sirius rises 28 days after Rigel. So now that would be sometime in August that you would see that. And it would look like this. Yeah, and here's Sirius rising. This again is the dog star. Orion's up here. You can see Orion's belt. Okay. Lepus is actually a rabbit. And I guess the mythology is that one of his hunting dogs is chasing a rabbit. Okay. And over here would be considered the sea or the celestial sea. But this is actually representing a river, I believe. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Iridanus. That would be a river, I believe. That's what Lepus is hunting. So yeah, here's the hunting. Here's his other hunting dog, Canis Minor. So this is Canis Major, Sirius, the dog star, right here. That's rising. That would appear right where I just showed you now. And that's 28 days after Rigel. Now, as I said, that this is 2 days before solstice, 28 days after solstice. C is 28 days after Rigel. Well, Fomalhaut D, the southern fish, that actually rises 28 days before summer solstice. So this would actually rise in May. So we have May, and then we have June, July, August. So this would be May, 28 days before the summer solstice. That would signal the coming, spring is over. We're working towards summer now. But this side of the sky is where the Milky Way is and where Aquarius is and everything. And when that rises, it would look like this. So there's Fomalhaut, okay? And you'll see we're almost looking southwest. This is the one, the D cairn. The D cairn is represented by Fomalhaut. And that's what points at the basin where warm water's halt. Now, I want you to take a look at Aquarius up here. This is Aquarius, who's the water bearer, okay? Now, these two things represent his urn, and he's basically spilling his urn, the water, into the fish's mouth, which is represented. This is the brightest star in that constellation. It's called Fomalhaut. So Aquarius is spilling water into there. There's a lot of mythology in that when this star would rise, it would signal that the flooding of the Nile is going to be coming. And anyway, it would let people know that it's the correct time of year to plant your crops and so on. There's a big stories behind a lot of these. And basically, I want to show you another picture of Aquarius just to give you an idea. You can't see it here, but the Milky Way is over here. Okay. This whole side of the sky represents the celestial sea. So here it is at the space.com. You can see a representation of what I'm talking about. There's the urn, and you can see the urn is spilling the water, and it's going right into the fish's mouth. The D cairn would be right here when this is happening. So, Forrest, Fenn said he prayed for D's and all that. So this is where you're pointing out where warm water's halt at the fish's mouth would actually be the D cairn. And if you look quickly down from the D cairn, you're in the Five Springs Basin. That's pretty much how warm water's halt works. And over here would be, like I said, where the Milky Way is. So again, this whole side of the sky represents water. Okay, that's the celestial sea. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, you can go there and read about it, but it's interesting when you hear them talking about Orion and Aquarius and Pisces and so on and so forth, because all of that stuff is here. All of that stuff is represented by the wheel, and everything above the wheel is a canopy of stars, and it just so happens to be the most sacred place in North America for all Plains Indian tribes, all of them. That's why they consider this their spiritual home. Okay, and the wheel represents birth and death and life. It represents everything that is contained within the poem. Okay, it's really interesting stuff. And like I said, it's funny listening to what they say, and then every time they talk about it, I'm like, it's all represented here, all of it, 100%. And of course, I don't get involved in that on their channel because I mean, we try. The best thing is not to discuss your solution on other people's channels because it's just going to lead to arguments. There's no point. It's Street's channel. He can discuss whatever he wants. I'm not going to discuss it. But this is one of the reasons why I'm interested in the stuff that they talk about. You know, because all of it I can relate to it. All of it, 100%, 100%. Even on the Once Upon a While book where he has the hook and the fish's mouth and the stars. You're looking at it here to here. So it's really cool stuff. It's really cool, and like I said, it really doesn't require any background, any kind of investigation, because all of this stuff and the name of the stars and the constellation, all of that is on site, and certainly it's also on the historical site. So yeah, it's really cool, and I believe there's even a name for this river that it's actually a separate constellation that goes down to the mouth. It's not a well-known name, but it is actually named. So the mythology, I believe, is that he spilled the water and then the fish drank all the water, saving mankind. Right. So this would signify floods. Look that deep. They don't talk about that on the site. That's just something that you'll find out if you really take it a step further and start researching these constellations and how these stars and the heavens apply, and certainly how the Plains Indians looked to the stars and what the real wheel itself represented and what the stars represent, what Orion's belt represents. All of that stuff is here, all of it. So yeah, that's Fomalhaut right here. And like I said, here's Aquarius. So that would be 28 days before the solstice. This is an older screenshot. In my solve, I believe I showed the one that cuts across here. It doesn't matter. Both of them go to the same location. They point to the basin, which is right below the bench over here with the three wise men, Charles Brady, Francis Brown, and Haman Wise. Those are the three wise men. That's what the elder is, a tribal elder. He's a wise man. He's the shaman. Okay, he's the medicine man. That's what they are. Those are the three wise men. And if you look at where Orion's belt is, when you look at this star coming down, the belt is actually pointing down to where the three wise men are sitting on the bench. It's just amazing at the correlation between a lot of the stuff that Candy and Street talk about that I found really interesting. And I know I showed some of those screenshots before, but I don't know if I showed them all. So again, this is 28 days. You would sit here, 28 days. The solstice is coming up now when this rises. Okay. And then 2 days before the solstice, that would rise. Then on the solstice, you come here and you stand at E and you look in this direction and the sun will rise. That would look similar to this. So this is what you would see coming up. That's how I drew that line. Okay. So that would be on the day of the summer solstice. And again, so you would be standing here and you'd be looking across the center current. Okay, see, this is east. We're oriented. This is north here. So here's A and B. So right between A and B. So this is roughly 50 something degrees, almost 60 degrees, where the sun would rise. And just like Forrest Fenn did in looking for Lewis and Clark, and this is what threw me off, you're not going in that direction. You're going to put your back to the sun and go this way and find the nearest moving stream. And this red line is the one that goes down to the crossroads of culture, which is beneath the home of Brown, that you're going to put in and come up the canyon because you can't walk down from here. It's literally as simple as that. And then that same day, if you were to go at night and stand on top of C and look this direction across the center, you would see this. You would see the sunset. Now, again, this isn't really what it looks like at the wheel. We are at the wheel, but they just put some fake background on there. But the sun would set right here to the northwest, just slightly north of west, okay, and just south of northwest, okay, and this, of course, would be north. So everything. This is what it would look like. That's the sunset on the day of the summer solstice. And yeah, like I said before, if I drew from the center of the circle of the sunrise, except go in the opposite direction with a perfectly straight line, it takes me right over where the right through that canyon, right over the waterfalls, and right down to where we put in. This is the road that takes you up to the campground. And it ends, well, it doesn't end there, but because it's the sun, but this is Rainbow Canyon down here. And this Rainbow Canyon overlook. So it takes it right into the rainbow, right? Um, and again, this is the one that points to the basin. It's just really cool the way all of that stuff works out like that. And it turns out to be a lot simpler than at least we thought it was. Sam and I were going nuts. We're looking everywhere except for the most obvious place. But clearly, we weren't the only ones to do that. So yeah, that's so after you've seen the sunset now, 28 days later, if you're sitting here and you look across here, you would see Rigel rise 28 days after the solstice. And then 28 days after Rigel, you would see Sirius rise. Okay. And that would be pretty much it. So this is a wheel. The end is ever drawing nigh. That's pretty much it. Like I said, I don't really want to get it solved. I just wanted to show you the connection to the stars. And like I said, that program is really cool. It's called Stellarium. If you search the web for Stellarium application, you'll find it. And there's a web version, and you can put yourself anywhere on Earth, and you can look to the sky, and it's got a whole bunch of different options. You can set whatever date and time you want. I also use that software in my Amelia Earhart stuff because I put myself down to where they lost contact with Amelia, and I set the date back to the date that she was lost. And I looked at what the stars were like because that's how her navigator was navigating using celestial navigation. And that was when I noticed that when she went down, the moon was directly above her. And if the moon was directly above her, that means it would be low tide below where her plane was, which means that a lot of those coral reefs would actually be above the water instead of below the water because between high tide and low tide, there's a change of like 3 feet. So a lot of that stuff, when it's at low tide, only sits like a foot beneath the water. So at high tide, it would be 2 feet above it. So when you're a few thousand feet in the air, it would look like an island until you got close enough, you would realize it's not an island. By that time, you're already too far off. And then, well, you know what ended up happening on that flight. But anyway, the software is really cool. Go and check it out if you're interested in astronomy in any way. It's also cool just around your house. If you see a star at night, you could go and run the app and then put yourself at your house and you'll be able to figure out what planet is it, what star is it. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And like I said, I set myself to these GPS coordinates over here, right where you would sit at the wheel. And then when I was checking the sun, I put myself over here so that I would look across just like the map is telling you what to do. Um, and it's just amazing the correlation, like I said, to the stuff that they were talking about on Street Show many times. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day and have a great weekend. And that's pretty much it. Peace.